I overheard my girlfriend of 5 years bragging about cheating on me. He is so much better than this idiot in bed. I'm definitely taking him for another spin. So I took my revenge. And now she is begging me for forgiveness. Hey everyone. Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Hey Reddit! I've been a long-time lurker, but never thought I'd be posting my own story here. Anyway, here goes. Buckle up. This is a long one. So I, 40 male, vice president of operations at a mid-sized tech company that specializes in supply chain management software. I've always been the responsible one in my friend group, the guy people call when they need bail money, career advice, or help moving furniture. Currently pulling about $170,000 a year with bonuses, which I've always been smart about saving and investing. Not trying to brag, just giving context for what comes later. My dad was a factory foreman who worked the same job for 35 years without a single sick day. He taught me early that a man handles his business, provides for his family, and solves problems without drama. Feelings are fine, son, but they don't pay the mortgage, he'd say. Those lessons shaped everything about me, for better or worse. Grew up lower middle class in Michigan, where my parents worked their asses off to give me and my sister opportunities they never had. Our house was small, but always clean, and there was always food on the table, even if it meant my parents ate less. My mom worked double shifts as a nurse to put me through college after my dad's company started laying people off in 2008. I still remember how she'd fall asleep at the kitchen table some nights, still in her scrubs. That kind of sacrifice sticks with you. Got my business degree while working 2 jobs. Morning shifts at UPS loading trucks, evenings waiting tables, then methodically climbed the corporate ladder while most of my high school buddies were still figuring out their lives. Started as an operations analyst, making $42,000, then supervisor, then manager, director, and finally VP at 36. Each promotion came from outworking everyone else and solving problems others couldn't. I've always been disciplined. Hit the gym 5 days a week at 5:30 a.m. before work, meal prep on Sundays, chicken, rice, and veggies, nothing fancy. Max out my 401k contributions every year since I was 25. Bought my first property at 29, a shitty duplex that I fixed up myself on weekends, while living in half and renting the other half to cover the mortgage. Sold it 4 years later for almost double what I paid. Not trying to sound like a robot, but structure keeps me centered and helps me sleep at night. My sister calls me the world's youngest old man because I still balance my checkbook by hand and refuse to pay for streaming services when the library has free DVDs. Maybe she's right, but I've never had a credit card balance I couldn't pay in full, and I could survive 6 months with no income if I had to. That kind of security means something to a kid who watched his dad stress about bills. I met Vanessa, 37 female, at my buddy Rick's New Year's party 6 years ago. Rick and his wife Tanya had been trying to set me up for months. She's perfect for you, they insisted. Smart, ambitious, great sense of humor. Rick and I go back to freshman year of college when we were randomly assigned as roommates. He's the extrovert to my introvert, but somehow we clicked. He's now a surgeon at Detroit Memorial, and Tanya runs their pediatric department. Vanessa showed up to the party fashionably late, and no lie, she looked incredible that night. Long dark hair, green eyes, curve-hugging black dress that made it hard to maintain eye contact. She worked as a PR executive for a healthcare company, making around $110,000. She knew how to work a room, laughing at all the right moments, touching people's arms when they spoke, making everyone feel like they were the most important person there. I'm not usually into that type, too practiced, too performative, but when Rick introduced us, something clicked. So you're the famous Alex, she said, eyes sparkling. Rick says you're the only person he knows who's more of a workaholic than me. We hit it off immediately. Found out we were both ambitious, career-focused people who loved hiking, true crime podcasts, and 80s action movies. Our first date was at this hole-in-the-wall Vietnamese place where the owner practically adopted us, always giving us extra spring rolls for the beautiful couple. Second date was a 10-mile hike where Vanessa impressed me by keeping pace the whole time in a light drizzle without complaining once. After dating for 8 months, we moved in together. Made financial sense since we were spending all our time at each other's places anyway. I had the bigger condo with the better location, so she moved in with me. I remember being surprised by how much stuff she had. Took 3 full days to move it all. Should have been a red flag how much she'd spent on clothes and shoes while complaining about student loans, but love makes you stupid sometimes. The following years were solid. We traveled to Japan and New Zealand. I paid for most of it, but didn't mind at the time. Hosted dinner parties that our friends actually looked forward to and talked about building a future. I'm not the most expressive guy emotionally, another trait from my dad, but I thought we had good communication and mutual respect. Looking back, there were warning signs. How she'd get oddly defensive if I picked up her phone to take a picture. How she'd sometimes get texts late at night that she'd quickly dismiss as just work stuff. The mysterious weekend conferences that seemed to have no digital footprint afterward. But I trusted her. And whenever those little doubts crept in, I'd push them away. Paranoia is unattractive, right? That's what she'd tell me whenever I'd ask too many questions. Around year 4, I started putting money aside for a ring. Not because I felt pressured, but because it finally made sense to me. I'd never been the marriage type before, but with Vanessa, I could actually picture building a life together. Every quarter, I go on a weekend hunting trip with my college buddies, Rick, Jason, Derek, and Chris. We've been doing this for 15 years, renting the same cabin in the Blue Ridge Mountains, hunting during the day, playing poker at night. Jason's the wild card of the group, divorced twice, always between jobs but somehow always has money. Derek's the opposite. Same wife since college, 4 kids, coaches Little League, the whole suburban dream. Chris is our tech guy, makes stupid money in cybersecurity, but still drives a 2010 Honda and wears free t-shirts from conferences. These weekends are sacred to us. No phones except for emergencies, just guys being guys. We've seen each other through everything. Marriages, divorces, babies, career implosions, parents' funerals. These are the guys who helped me bury my dad, literally and figuratively. Vanessa never complained about these trips, actually encouraged them. Said she enjoyed having me time to catch up with her friends, binge shows I couldn't stand, or just read in peace without me breathing too loudly. Her words, not mine. She'd always kiss me goodbye with a have fun killing things joke and tell me not to rush back Sunday if I was having a good time. In hindsight, I should have connected the dots. The way she'd start getting excited about my trips about a week before, checking and double-checking the dates, the new lingerie deliveries that would arrive just before I left, the way she'd casually mention she might check out that new wine bar with the girls while I was gone, but would never have any pictures or stories from these outings when I returned. But I wasn't looking for reasons to doubt her. I trusted her completely. Our 6th anniversary was coming up in September. I had the proposal planned, bought a custom emerald ring, she always said diamonds were basic and unoriginal, and arranged for us to go back to the restaurant where we had our first date. I was finally ready to settle down, maybe start thinking about kids in a year or 2. I'd even started looking at houses in better school districts, setting up a meeting with a financial advisor to talk about college funds and life insurance. I was all in, ready to become the family man my dad would have been proud of. Had it all mapped out, proposal in September, maybe a spring wedding, start trying for kids after she hit her next career milestone so she wouldn't resent giving up momentum. Then everything went to shit in the most unexpected way. It started like just another hunting weekend. I packed my gear Thursday night, kissed Vanessa goodbye Friday morning, and headed to the office for what should have been a normal workday. The plan was to leave directly after work to meet the guys at the cabin around 7 p.m. Around 3 p.m., while finishing some quarterly reports, I realized I'd forgotten my satellite phone at home. With the cabin being in a dead zone for cell service, and my second-in-command handling a major client crisis, I needed to be reachable in case the situation escalated. I texted the guys I'd be running a couple hours late. Figured I'd surprise Vanessa with dinner from that upscale Thai place she loves, Green Elephant. Ordered her favorite, green curry with extra basil and those spring rolls she's always craving. Thought it would be a nice gesture since I was interrupting what she called her sacred alone time. I pulled into our driveway around 4:30 p.m. and noticed an unfamiliar black Audi parked across the street. Didn't think much of it, probably just a neighbor's visitor. Used my key to unlock the front door, but entered quietly, wanting to surprise her. As I stepped into the entryway, I heard Vanessa laughing upstairs. That flirtatious laugh I hadn't heard directed at me in months. The hairs on my neck stood up. I set the food down silently on the console table and listened. "He has no idea," I heard her say, followed by a deep male chuckle. "These hunting weekends are perfect. He's so predictable. Probably sitting around a campfire right now with his loser friends, thinking I'm home watching Netflix." Blood rushed to my head. 6 years of trust shattered in an instant, but I didn't lose my cool. Something inside me went ice cold, like a switch flipped from emotion to pure logic. I moved silently up the stairs, each step deliberate. Our bedroom door was partially open. Through the crack, I could see Vanessa sitting on our bed in lingerie I'd never seen before, holding her phone, FaceTiming someone. I swear Todd is so much better in bed, she was saying. Alex thinks he's God's gift to women because he stays in shape, but he has no imagination. Todd knows exactly how to touch me. Plus, he doesn't have Alex's weird hang-ups about trying new things. I pushed the door open. Vanessa's head snapped up, her face draining of color. Her phone dropped to the floor with a thud. Alex! What are you doing home? She stammered, scrambling to cover herself with our bedsheet, the expensive Egyptian cotton ones I'd bought for her birthday. I didn't yell, didn't throw things, just looked at her with a calmness that seemed to terrify her more than anger would have. Who's Todd? I asked, my voice steady. It's not what you think, she blurted, her eyes darting around the room like a cornered animal. We were just joking around. He's just a friend from the gym. I walked over and picked up her phone from the floor. The call had ended, but I opened her text history. Didn't even need to search. Todd was right at the top. Dozens of messages spanning back months. Explicit photos, meeting arrangements, hotel receipts, even screenshots of my text to her about when I'd be out of town, forwarded to him with laughing emojis. How long? I asked, still eerily calm as I scrolled through what appeared to be at least 6 months of betrayal. Alex, please, we need to talk about this, she started, switching to what I now recognized as her damage control voice, the same one she used when dealing with PR crises at work. How long? My voice was steel. A few months, she whispered, then seeing my expression amended, maybe a year. A year. While I was saving for a ring, planning our future, she'd been screwing someone else. And from the texts, it looked like Todd wasn't the only one. There were messages to someone named M that were equally explicit. I set her phone down gently on the dresser. I'll be back Sunday night. I expect you'll have figured out somewhere else to stay by then. This is my house too, she suddenly snapped, entitlement flaring. You can't just kick me out because you're insecure. If you weren't so boring and predictable, maybe I wouldn't have needed to look elsewhere. All you care about is work and the gym. I laughed. Actually laughed. Keep the house. I'll be the one moving out. But everything in it that I paid for comes with me. I walked out, ignoring her calls and sudden tears. As I got to my truck, I saw the Thai food still sitting on the console table through the open door. I went back, grabbed it, and left. No sense in wasting good curry. I drove straight to the cabin, arriving just before midnight. The guys were still up playing poker. One look at my face and Rick knew something was wrong. Who died? Jason asked, trying to lighten the mood. My relationship, I replied, setting the Thai food on the table. Dinner's on me. Anyone hungry? I told them everything while they sat in stunned silence. These men had been my brothers since college. They'd seen me through my parents' deaths, job changes, and my one previous serious relationship failure. You seem weirdly calm, Derek noted, studying my face. If I caught Lisa cheating, I'd probably be in jail right now. What's the point in losing my shit? I replied. Won't change anything. Fucking Vanessa, Chris muttered. Never trusted her. Remember when she accidentally maxed out your credit card on that shopping trip last Christmas? Or how she always had some excuse why you couldn't hang out with us unless she was invited too. They were right to be suspicious. Looking back, there had been signs I'd ignored. The sudden girls' trips that she was vague about afterward. The new clothes and lingerie that never seemed to make appearances when I was around. The way she'd guard her phone like it contained nuclear codes. Classic red flags I'd been too trusting to see. My phone buzzed constantly with texts and calls from Vanessa, which I ignored. Around 2 a.m., Rick's phone started ringing. She was calling my friends to get to me. Rick answered, putting it on speaker. He's with us. He's fine. Don't call again. He hung up before she could respond. The next morning, while the guys went hunting, I stayed back and made some calls. First to my lawyer, Marcus, then to a real estate agent I knew, then to my bank. By noon, I had a clear plan. Vanessa and I weren't married, thankfully, but we had lived together long enough to accumulate shared assets and complications. The house was in both our names with a 70-30 split on the down payment. I put in more. We had joint accounts for bills, though I'd always maintained my primary account separately. Another lesson from my father about financial independence. You're handling this like a fucking robot, Jason commented when they returned with a couple of deer. If my girl cheated, I'd be tearing the place apart. That's why your last breakup ended with a restraining order, I replied. I'm playing chess, not checkers. By Sunday afternoon, I was ready to head back, but not to confront Vanessa. I'd decided she didn't deserve my energy or emotions. The guys offered to come with me, but I declined. This was my battle. Call if you need backup, Rick said as I loaded my truck. I'm serious. Anytime. I nodded, grateful for the brotherhood that had never failed me. When I pulled into our driveway Sunday evening, Vanessa's car was gone. Good. I entered the house and immediately noticed she'd been stress cleaning, her typical response to conflict. The place smelled of bleach and that expensive lavender cleaner she insisted on buying. I walked through each room methodically, taking photos of everything valuable that I'd purchased. The 85-inch OLED TV, the leather sectional, my grandfather's antique desk, my entire home office setup with the ergonomic chair and dual ultra-wide monitors. The Vitamix blender she needed that sat mostly unused. I created a detailed inventory spreadsheet, including approximate values and dates of purchase with any receipts I could find. I went to our bedroom last. The bed was made with military precision. On my pillow lay a handwritten letter, 5 pages of excuses, blame-shifting, and manipulative apologies. The gist? She cheated because I was emotionally unavailable and married to my job. She claimed she still loved me and wanted to work things out. Todd was just a physical thing and didn't mean anything. I read it once, then dropped it into the paper shredder in my office. Within an hour, I had packed my essential clothes, personal documents, and irreplaceable items. I booked a furnished executive apartment downtown, $3,800 a month, but worth it for the security and privacy. I could move in immediately. As I was loading the last of my things, headlights swept across the driveway. Vanessa's BMW pulled in, parking behind my truck. She stepped out, looking like she'd spent the weekend crying and drinking, mascara smudged, hair unwashed, wearing the same yoga pants and oversized sweater she'd been wearing when I left Friday. "So that's it?" she demanded, watching me close my trunk. 6 years and you're just leaving without even talking to me? I looked at her calmly. What's there to say? It was a mistake. People make mistakes, Alex. If you weren't so cold and judgmental, maybe I could have talked to you instead of turning to someone else. Classic Vanessa, twisting everything to make herself the victim. I almost admired her commitment to delusion. I'll have movers come for the rest of my things this week. My lawyer will contact you about the house. Your lawyer? Her voice rose to that shrill pitch I'd always hated. Are you serious? We're not even married. Exactly. Makes this much simpler. Her eyes narrowed. I gave you 6 years of my life. I'm entitled to half of everything we built together. You think you can just walk away? I know how much you make, Alex. I know about your stock options and your bonus structure. There it was. The entitlement I'd somehow missed all these years. The belief that she deserved the benefits of my hard work without the loyalty or respect that should come with partnership. You gave me 6 years of lies. You're entitled to nothing. I got in my truck and drove away, leaving her screaming in the driveway that I was a heartless robot and would die alone. That night, in my new apartment, I slept better than I had in months. I settled into my new apartment and took a few days off work to get my head straight. Told my boss the condensed version, relationship ended, needed to handle logistics. He was surprisingly understanding. Perks of being valued at the company. Take the week if you need it, he said. Just don't go missing during the Anderson proposal next month. Vanessa launched a full offensive. Calls from different numbers, emails, even showing up at my office. She veered between rage and desperate pleading. Security had to escort her out twice, which didn't exactly help her case when she claimed I was the unstable one. Then came the social warfare, social. She contacted our mutual friends with her version of events, that I was controlling, cold, had driven her to cheat by neglecting her emotional needs. Some bought it, particularly her co-workers who only knew me from holiday parties. Most didn't. What she didn't know was that I'd already spoken privately with the people who mattered to me. Not to smear her, but to tell my truth simply. Vanessa cheated repeatedly. I found out. I left. Rick and Tanya became my strongest allies. Tanya revealed something interesting over dinner at their place. She'd suspected Vanessa was cheating months ago when she spotted her at a hotel bar downtown with a man who definitely wasn't me. She'd confronted Vanessa, who swore it was a work colleague, and begged Tanya not to create drama. Tanya, not wanting to make accusations without proof, had reluctantly stayed silent. I should have told you, she said, eyes downcast. I'm so sorry, Alex. Not your fault, I assured her. Vanessa is the only one responsible for Vanessa's choices. My lawyer, Marcus, was worth every penny of his $500 hourly rate. Since Vanessa and I weren't married, our legal entanglements were limited to the house and a few other shared assets. Marcus advised selling the house and splitting the proceeds based on our respective contributions to the down payment and mortgage. Vanessa refused. She wanted to keep the house, claiming she couldn't afford to buy me out. Then she demanded I continue paying half the mortgage while she lived there. Marcus laughed when I told him. Not how it works, he said. We'll force the sale if necessary. Meanwhile, I discovered through bank statements that Vanessa had been siphoning money from our joint account for months. Small amounts, $200 to $300 at a time, totaling nearly $15,000. When confronted via email, she claimed it was for household expenses, but couldn't provide receipts. I also learned more about Todd. He was her CrossFit instructor, married with 2 kids. Classic. Through mutual connections, turned out Rick's brother went to the same gym. I discovered this wasn't his first affair with a client. The man had a pattern. What really set me off wasn't the cheating. It was the disrespect. Going through old texts Vanessa had sent me during her girls' trips, which I now knew were rendezvous with Todd or others, I found messages claiming to miss me while she was literally in another man's bed. Photos of her alone in hotel rooms that I now realized had been carefully angled to hide whoever was with her. Even a video she'd sent of herself blowing me a kiss with the caption, "Thinking of you," that based on the timestamp, must have been sent minutes after being with one of her affair partners. That's when I decided being the bigger man wasn't enough. Vanessa had declared war the moment she betrayed me. It was time to respond accordingly. I spent a full weekend plotting my next moves. Not in a crazy wall with red string way, but methodically listing assets, points of leverage, and potential outcomes. I wasn't interested in revenge that would land me in legal trouble or make me look unhinged. I wanted calculated, precise actions that would protect what was mine while letting natural consequences do the rest. Chris, the most aggressive of my friend group, thought I should expose her publicly on social media. Tag her family, her work, everyone, he said. I declined. Too messy, too obvious. The best revenge wouldn't have my fingerprints on it. 3 weeks after moving out, I implemented the next phase of my plan. First, I transferred my half of our joint household account to my personal account, leaving exactly $1 in the joint account. Legal and justified, according to Marcus, since I was no longer living in the house. The timing was perfect. 2 days before the mortgage autopay was scheduled. I knew exactly when it would hit because I'm the one who had set up all our bill payments on a careful schedule. Vanessa had never paid attention to any of that boring money stuff, despite my attempts to get her involved in our financial planning. That's why I have you, she'd say, as if managing our finances was some cute hobby of mine rather than adult responsibility. The mortgage payment bounced on a Tuesday. By Wednesday morning, Vanessa was blowing up my phone. I let it go to voicemail the first few times, then finally answered while I was meal prepping my lunch. "What the actual fuck, Alex?" she screamed, loud enough that I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "The mortgage payment bounced? My account is overdrawn? The power company just sent a warning notice?" I calmly continued chopping bell peppers as I replied, "I moved my portion of the funds. We're no longer together, so I'm no longer contributing to household expenses for a house I don't live in. You can't just do that without warning me." I believe I did warn you. When I left, I specifically said I'd be removing myself from joint expenses. I thought you meant like Netflix and the landscaping service, not the fucking mortgage. I reminded her that financial independence was important and wished her luck with budgeting on her PR executive salary of $110,000. More than enough to cover the bills she'd grown accustomed to splitting. "But I have other expenses," she wailed. "My car payment is $850, and I just renewed my country club membership. Sounds like you might need to prioritize," I suggested. "Dave Ramsey has some excellent books on budgeting. I'd start there." She switched tactics faster than a politician at a debate. "Baby, please," she said, voice suddenly honey-sweet. "I know you're hurt, but we can work through this. I made a terrible mistake. Don't punish me like this. I'll do anything to make it right, including getting a roommate to help with the mortgage, because that seems like the logical solution here." The sugary tone vanished instantly. "I am not having some stranger in our home. Not our home anymore. Just yours. With your mortgage." By this point, she was crying real tears. I could hear the congestion in her voice. Somewhere deep down, a part of me felt a twinge of something. Not quite guilt, but awareness of her distress. Then I remembered how she'd laughed on the phone describing my sexual inadequacies to her lover, and the twinge evaporated. "You can't just cut me off like this," she shrieked. "I have car payments and credit card bills." "Sounds stressful," I replied. "Maybe Todd can help you out." Next, I submitted documentation to my credit card companies, removing her as an authorized user. Vanessa had enjoyed the perks of my excellent credit for years. The cards were in my name, but she used them freely for emergencies. like $600 salon visits and weekend spa trips with her friends. I also discovered, while going through our shared cloud storage, folders of professional photos Vanessa had done as a surprise for me, lingerie shots that I'd never seen. Based on the dates and the lingerie, which matched items I'd seen in her texts, these were almost certainly for Todd or her other partners. The photographer was tagged in the metadata, a woman named Jess, who I remembered Vanessa mentioning as a friend from her yoga studio. A quick social media search revealed that Jess was married to a guy who worked at the same company as Todd's wife. Small world. I made a note of this connection but didn't act on it immediately. The real masterstroke came through an unexpected channel. The wife of one of my clients worked at the PR firm where Vanessa was a director. During a dinner meeting, she mentioned hearing about workplace drama involving my ex. I asked for details, maintaining professional curiosity. Turned out Vanessa had been sleeping with the married CEO for months, separate from her affair with Todd. The company had strict policies about inter-office relationships, especially between executives and subordinates. The CEO's wife was on the board of directors. I thanked her for the information and changed the subject. I didn't need to do anything with this knowledge immediately, just filed it away. Meanwhile, Vanessa escalated her campaign against me. She started telling friends I was emotionally abusive, claiming I had controlled her and isolated her from friends. Anyone who actually knew me laughed at these accusations. I was the one always encouraging her to maintain friendships and pursue her interests. Then she crossed a line I didn't know existed. She showed up at my parents' graves on their death anniversary, a day she knew I always visited. My parents had died in a car accident 5 years ago before I met Vanessa. I arrived to find her there, tearfully maintaining a vigil as if she'd been close to them. When she saw me, she launched into a prepared speech about forgiveness and second chances. "Even your mother would want you to forgive me," she said, pointing to my mother's headstone. "She always said everyone deserves redemption." My mother had said no such thing. In fact, Mom had been skeptical of Vanessa from day one, sensing something off about her that I'd been too infatuated to see. That grave stunt was the final straw. Using my dead parents as emotional leverage crossed a line. The gloves came off. I contacted Todd's wife anonymously, sending screenshots of texts between him and Vanessa that proved their affair. I made sure she knew about the hotel charges on their family credit card. For Vanessa's CEO lover, I took a different approach. During a charity gala where my company was a major donor, I happened to be seated at the same table as the CEO's wife, the board member. We had a lovely conversation about corporate ethics and the importance of transparent leadership. By dessert, I had her private email. The next day, I sent her a carefully worded message expressing concern about potential liability issues at her husband's company, specifically mentioning rumors of the CEO having inappropriate relationships with subordinates. No names, no accusations, just concern from one business professional to another. Within a week, the dominoes began to fall. Todd's wife threw him out and posted the entire saga on social media, tagging Vanessa. The CrossFit community is small. Suddenly, Vanessa was persona non grata at her beloved gym. Several women from the gym, realizing Todd had used the same predatory tactics on them, came forward with their stories. Todd lost his job and his certification. The CEO's wife launched an internal investigation, resulting in both the CEO and Vanessa being placed on administrative leave. 2 weeks later, Vanessa was terminated for violation of company ethics policies. The CEO somehow kept his job. Rich white guys usually do. But Vanessa was collateral damage. As for the house, I stopped fighting her on it. Instead, I contacted our mortgage lender and explained that I would no longer be contributing to payments on a property I didn't reside in. They noted this in their records. When Vanessa inevitably missed payments, her salary alone couldn't cover the mortgage plus her lifestyle. It would affect her credit, not mine. By month 2 post-breakup, Vanessa's carefully constructed life was unraveling. No boyfriend, no job, friends choosing sides, mortgage in arrears, credit cards canceled, and I hadn't raised my voice once. 4 months after discovering Vanessa's betrayal, I was thriving. I'd been promoted to executive vice president at work, bringing my salary to $210,000 plus bonuses. I'd bought a modernist house in a gated community with views of the lake. My lawyer had successfully negotiated a settlement on the old house. It sold at a slight loss, but I was free of it. I'd started dating casually, nothing serious, just dinner with interesting women who treated me with respect. Was surprised how different dating was at 40 compared to my early 30s. More direct communication, less game playing. No one had time for bullshit anymore. My first date post-Vanessa was with a divorce tax attorney who showed up, stated exactly what she was looking for: casual companionship, nothing serious, no intention of ever remarrying. and then proceeded to have a completely normal dinner conversation. It was refreshingly straightforward. I'd joined a boxing gym, turning my residual anger into physical fitness. There's something therapeutic about hitting a heavy bag until your arms feel like they're going to fall off. My trainer, Miguel, was a former amateur champion who'd immediately clocked my situation without me saying a word. "Woman trouble, eh?" he'd asked during our first session. When I looked surprised, he'd shrugged. "I've been training guys for 15 years. I know they my woman cheated hook when I see it." He worked me until I puked that first day, and it was exactly what I needed. My circle of friends had actually expanded. Turns out Vanessa had been subtly discouraging me from maintaining certain friendships that she felt threatened by, especially my old college friend Sarah, who'd moved back to town last year after her divorce. Vanessa had always made little comments when I mentioned grabbing lunch with Sarah. Nothing directly accusatory, just little digs like, "Oh, I'm sure she'd love some time alone with you," or "Funny how she only calls when she needs something." After the breakup, Sarah and I reconnected properly. She confessed that Vanessa had actually texted her once, warning her to respect boundaries, which was rich coming from someone who couldn't respect the most basic boundary of fidelity. Sarah introduced me to her friend group, mostly divorced professionals in their late 30s, early 40s, who met weekly for trivia night at a local brewery. Normal, drama-free adults who just enjoyed each other's company. It was like a breath of fresh air. Then came the call I'd been half expecting, Vanessa's number, which I'd never blocked. I wanted to always know when the enemy was approaching. "Alex!" Her voice was small, missing the confidence that once defined her. "Can we meet? Please?" I agreed to coffee at a public place near my office. Professional curiosity, nothing more. She looked terrible, had lost too much weight, dark circles under her eyes, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail instead of her usual perfect blowout. She'd gotten a retail job at a clothing boutique after being blacklisted in the PR world. "I've hit rock bottom," she admitted, hands wrapped around her coffee mug. "I'm staying on my sister's couch. My car got repossessed last week. I owe the IRS back taxes." I listened impassively as she detailed her downfall. Todd had gone back to his wife. The CEO pretended not to know her when she applied for jobs at his friends' companies. Her parents, conservative Catholics, had practically disowned her after learning about the affairs. "I know you had something to do with all this," she said, eyes suddenly sharp. The timing was too perfect, the way everything fell apart at once. I shrugged. Karma's efficient sometimes. "I deserve it," she conceded, surprising me with this rare moment of self-awareness. "But I need help, Alex. Just a loan to get back on my feet. I'll pay you back every cent, I swear." "How much?" "20,000, she whispered. "For first and last month's rent, a used car, professional clothes for interviews." I watched her for a long moment. This woman who had shared my bed for 6 years, who had laughed at my jokes and held me when my father died, who had also lied to my face countless times, cheated with multiple men, drained our joint account, and tried to manipulate my friends against me. "No," I said simply. Her face crumpled. "Please, Alex, I have nowhere else to turn. That sounds like a personal problem." "I still love you," she tried, reaching for my hand. I pulled it away. "We could try again. I've learned my lesson. I'll never cheat again." I laughed. Actually laughed out loud in the coffee shop. "Vanessa, I wouldn't take you back if you were the last woman on earth. I don't even hate you anymore. That would require caring." "You're enjoying this," she accused, tears streaming down her face. "Seeing me suffer." "I'm enjoying my life," I corrected her. "Your suffering is irrelevant to me." As I stood to leave, she made one last desperate attempt. "I'm calling your mother's sister. She always liked me. She'll help me if she knows how cruelly you're behaving." I smiled coldly. "Go ahead. I had lunch with Aunt Patricia last week. She knows everything, including how you used my parents' graves for emotional manipulation. Good luck with that approach." Walking to my car, I felt nothing but clarity. No guilt, no lingering attachment, just the peaceful certainty that justice had been served. That weekend at the hunting cabin with the guys, I finally told them everything I'd done. The strategic dismantling of Vanessa's life had been calculated, but completely legal. They were impressed and a little terrified. "Remind me never to cross you," Jason joked, but his eyes were serious. "The best revenge isn't just living well," I told them, raising my glass of sparkling water. "It's making sure the person who wronged you loses the capacity to ever hurt you again." 6 months later, I received a letter from Vanessa, postmarked from another state. She'd moved home to Minnesota, was working as an assistant at her uncle's insurance agency, and attending therapy twice weekly. She apologized again, this time without asking for anything in return. I read it once, then filed it away with the documentation from our house sale. Another chapter closed. My new girlfriend, Claire, a pediatric surgeon I'd met through Rick's hospital fundraiser, caught me staring at the letter before I put it away. Ex-drama? She asked, intelligent eyes assessing me carefully. Ancient history, I replied, pulling her close. Not worth another thought. And for the first time since everything fell apart, I meant it completely.